Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Planned Parenthood of Metropolitan Washington. I'm Dr. Laura Myers, President and CEO here at PPMW, and it's our pleasure to welcome you. However, the circumstances under which we gather are less than ideal, with the leak last night of a draft of a Supreme Court decision that could devastate reproductive rights in this country. So we gather today with our champions, both at the mayor's office, in Congress, as well as on our city council, to talk about the implications of an overturning of Roe v. Wade, what it means not only across the country, but right here in the District of Columbia. And so I want to start out with an esteemed champion, someone who has been a champion for decades, fighting this fight and on whose shoulders we stand. Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton.
Thank you very much. You see the entire city gathered here for a reason. This decision, if this is the decision, poses a unique risk to the District of Columbia. It poses a risk to women across the country, but it will be left to the states, and 26 states, about half of the country, have banned abortion. But when it comes to the district, we are at special peril. The Republican Congress is likely to use this decision to try to ban abortion in D.C. in particular. Remember what I said, that many states will be able to decide for themselves. Until the district gets statehood, we cannot make that decision for ourselves. We have seen a harbinger of this decision. We should have known it was coming because the Supreme Court left intact a 15-week abortion ban, did not overturn it, which was a signal of what we have just read is likely to be coming. Now, we have defeated such attacks in D.C. in the future. There was in a recent bill a provision that would have not allowed any abortions in D.C. after 20 weeks. I was able to defeat that, and it was rejected in the House and the Senate.
Sir.
The biggest problem that the District of Columbia uniquely has is that Republicans may well take back the House of Representatives. What I will do then is to fight in the Senate, where I usually have greater luck, even though I'm not a member of the Senate, in keeping Republicans from doing all they can to harm the district. So you can bet your life that if this is the decision, I'm ready to fight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman. Next, we are going to hear from our mayor, who also has been an incredible champion on this issue, Mayor Bowser.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the mayor of Washington, D.C. I called Dr. Myers earlier to ask what we needed to do and how we can help. We're here today at Planned Parenthood of Washington, D.C., joined by our Congresswoman, joined by members of the council, and joined by the health professionals who offer care to women in Washington, D.C. Last night, Americans were rocked by the news that we heard that this Supreme Court was prepared to overturn Roe v. Wade, which for decades has made access to abortion a constitutional right in America. Even for everyone who's been bracing for this decision since 2016, it was shocking and terrifying. And in D.C., we know that the stakes are even higher, as you've heard the Congresswoman say, because even if the courts allow states to decide abortion policy, that won't apply here to the 700,000 people who call D.C. home. We have seen before what happens when Congress intervenes in our ability to provide health care. Hundreds of D.C. residents died because of Congress's ban on needle exchange programs in the district. We know this because when that ban was lifted, drug-related HIV cases plummeted by 99%. That tells us what we already know. The government shouldn't be in the business of blocking access to health care. And we know that overturning Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey is just the beginning. We know that this decision will fall hardest on those with the fewest resources. We also know that even in states that ban abortions, they will still happen. They won't be safe. And the bottom line is this: women in the United States of America, women everywhere, should have control over their own bodies. We know that a majority of Americans support a woman's right to choose. A majority of Americans believe that women and girls should not be forced to carry a pregnancy. We also know that we cannot leave our children, our girls, a less free society than the one we were born into. For many of us, that's what this is exactly about. What America will we leave our girls? We cannot build a society where our girls look to others, freer nations, and wonder why they can't have the same rights. Congress must act now. It's time for action. It's time to codify the rights in Roe v. Wade into national law. It's time to stop letting senators hold our nation hostage. And it's time to make us the 51st state, where our senators will be able to speak for us and protect women and girls in Washington, D.C. I also want to state this clearly, that Washington, D.C. is a pro-choice city. Last night's news didn't change that. Women still have access to care in D.C. We are ready to stand shoulder to shoulder with the hundreds of millions of Americans who share this value and share it deeply and are willing to fight for it and willing to protect it. Thank you, Dr. Myers.
Thank you, Mayor, for those powerful words. Next, we're going to be hearing from Council Chairman Phil Mendelson.
Thank you, and I'll be brief. I don't want to repeat everything that's already been said. We understand the importance of a woman's right to choose. We understand the importance of family planning, which is jeopardized, at risk, arguably devastated by this possible decision by the Supreme Court. The message I want to convey is this. First, that the policy of the district isn't about to change. But I would say this: if members of Congress feel emboldened because of this, should this become a reality from the Supreme Court, I want to say hands off, and we will do everything we can with our warrior on the Hill, the mayor, the council, everything that we can to protect the public health in the district. And this is an important part of the public health. And as the mayor said, we've seen where Congress has interfered in the past, and it has only made matters worse. So the message, my message, is to our citizens in the district is that our policy isn't going to change, and that we will do everything to fight those who may want to bring mischief on the district. I want to add this as well. I don't know if my colleagues are going to speak, There's 6 council members here. I think 8 council members here. I think that every council member would be here, except this press conference was, we just learned about it when we got off of the dais from our legislative meeting. But I am confident that the council is unanimous, that the government is unanimous in our view toward this, what the Supreme Court might do. Thank you.
Chairman Mendelson, thank you. I invite Councilmember Charles Allen to come on up.
Thank you. It's not lost on me, actually. The last time that your government was in this very room was when our mayor was signing legislation that this council had passed to expand protections for health care, to protect reproductive health in this city. And it is not lost on me that we are gathering now as we have the threat to undo all the work that we have done. We need statehood. We didn't even get to vote on the people that are sitting there that are going to make these decisions. We did not get to vote on them because we do not have senators. And they will absolutely, when they say, let it rest with the states, people who will never show up on your ballot will make the decisions for us. That is why we need statehood. It is for every single resident. It's for every single person in D.C., but in particular, it is for the women and girls in D.C. So we all stand ready to fight. We all stand ready, and we are grateful for Planned Parenthood, for Dr. Myers, for your hard work, for our congresswoman, for our mayor, and for all of our colleagues here, because we are united. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Allen. Next, I'd like to invite Alyssa Silverman, at-large councilmember, to speak.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I'm Alyssa Silverman, at-large council member. If this is the decision, it is a harmful, cruel one that is not just going to impact women, but families across the country. I'm here to stand with Mayor Bowser, with our warrior on the Hill, and I think by the time we end this, all 13 of us will get here, because we need to have a united front. I agree. I think the mayor said this is a pro-choice city. It is. And I am here to stand with the fellow elected officials to send a message to women across the city to still seek reproductive health services, to make a choice that is best for you, and for us to take action. Congress should take action, but we've learned we can't rely on them, so we need to take action ourselves to make sure that we, at the local level, and we're particularly vulnerable, as Delegate Norton said, but we need to take action and ensure safe access to abortion for our residents, for other residents who might, or for those who might not have safe access in other parts of the country, to be a refuge for those women, and also for providers like the folks standing behind us. So I look forward to working with you, Madam Mayor, with Planned Parenthood and my colleagues to do that. Thank you.
I'd now like to hear from Christina Henderson, Councilmember Henderson. Oh, right there. I'm so sorry.
Good afternoon. I'm Christina Henderson, at-large council member. Last night's news was not necessarily surprising, but that doesn't mean that it didn't sting any less. And so I just want to take my time to first echo and join everything that the mayor and the congresswoman and the chairman said. We're going to fight as hard as we can, but I do also want to thank all of the people, the providers who got up this morning and continue to provide care. And not just here, but across the country, who got up today and decided that their job was important even in the face of what is happening up on Capitol Hill. And so we call on Congress not only to codify Roe, but also to give D.C. statehood so that we could protect our residents and the rights even more. Thank you.
Councilmember Brooke Pinto from Ward 2.
Thank you, Dr. Myers. Start. I'm Brooke Pinto, councilmember representing Ward 2 on the DC Council. And, you know, so many of us have been working over the course of the last few years on expanding access to health care, to period equity, to making sure that our women and girls have what they need to stay healthy, only to be reminded that the most basic of rights is still being challenged 50 years later for us to have control and autonomy over our own bodies. And we could never do anything without all of our male allies, and thank you all so much. But I am again moved that we have a woman representing us in Congress, we have a woman mayor, we have a majority woman council. And as we continue to fight for statehood and fight for the rights of district residents and women and girls, I am thinking about the woman and child in Texas and Missouri and in states across this country who, even if we can welcome them here with open arms, will never be able to make it here and will never be able to afford to get here. And that is who we need to let this gut feeling of horror sink in and mobilize all of us as one country to stand together. So thank you all and look forward to joining the fight.
Thank you. Next, we have Anita Bonds.
Thank you so much, and thank you for pulling us together so quickly. But of course, you probably didn't need to do very much because we are a pro-choice city, and I see so many women here that are very, very concerned, and men, and we thank you for being here. This is a very tough issue for us as we think about what we're trying to do here in the District of Columbia and what we want for our women and our girls. But it's a nation thing now. It really is a nation thing. We have to be concerned about those that will be denied. We know what we're going to do in the District of Columbia. So, as someone who is running and trying to run hard and fast, I have to say we've got to also think about what we can do in other parts of this country to turn this around. And you and I know the only way you turn it around is with vote, 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 vote. And so, in my opinion, we have to be hard and fast and get on the point to make sure that this nation understands that, as a little button I once had back in the Women's Political Caucus days, it said, women hold up more than half the sky. And we have to remember that. And we have to get out there and make it very, very clear. We thank you guys for being here, but it's about us women and our young girls. So thank you so much.
Next, we're going to hear from Brianna Nadeau. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry that we're all gathered here today on this particular topic. Most of you probably don't know that this is the issue that actually led me to run for office in the first place. Nearly 20 years ago, I joined the March for Women's Lives of 2004, fighting for reproductive rights, fighting for access to health care for women. And 20 years later, I was hoping we wouldn't still be having this conversation. When you're young and you're an activist, if you're lucky, the women that came before you don't warn you that you might still be doing this work 20 years later because you might lose hope. But as a mom of 2 young girls, we can't lose hope and we can't stop fighting because we are setting the tone for all of the generations to come with our fight. Now, the people who are making this decision, they're part of the Republican machine that is taking over our country that we are fighting back every day. These are the same people who don't care about getting guns off the street. These are the same people that don't care about women's health. These are the same people that don't care about mental health, and they don't care about the major issues that we take on every day in the District of Columbia, uphill with both hands tied behind our back because we don't have the representation in Congress that we deserve. So let me say this. We're going to keep fighting back against these people. These people who, by the way, can't even be bothered to put on a mask, but they're going to tell women what to do with their bodies, right? So that ends here in the District of Columbia. We're going to continue to shore up our rights and our laws and continue fighting for statehood because we will not be deterred and we will not be discouraged. And if we are still fighting for 20 more years, I will be here together with these colleagues. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We're going to hear now from Robert White.
Good afternoon. How unfortunate that we're gathered for this reason. But what folks have to know is that we're going to fight. Because what we know is that the ruling that we expect from the Supreme Court will mean less rights for women in many states across our country. What it will not mean is the end of abortions. It will mean the end of safe abortions. That is a dangerous thing, and we can't accept it. We know, and we must continue to know, that access to abortion is health care. As a father of 2 little girls, I don't want to have to explain to my daughters why they have less autonomy over their bodies than men. That is not fair. That is not freedom. That is not progress. We know that Congress will impose its will on the District of Columbia in a uniquely cruel way, as Congresswoman Norton always points out. Congress has shown that they will legislate about the bodies of women in the District of Columbia. That is why statehood is so important. Because as we see this forecast from the United States Supreme Court, we have to know what it will mean specifically for women and young women in D.C., and that is not fair. That is not American. But the other thing we know is that the story doesn't end here. The story does not end here because there is still an open question about whether Congress will legislate what it should have already legislated, that it will codify Roe versus Wade, because either that will happen or the folks who oppose a woman's right to choose will continue to push and push and push and move us decades into the past. So we can't let up this fight. We have got to keep pushing forward. We have got to keep push Congress to codify Roe versus Wade and to give the District of Columbia the full freedoms that we deserve as American citizens. Thank you all at Planned Parenthood for the work that you do.
Next up, Councilmember McDuffie.
Thank you. And thank you to Planned Parenthood for all the work that you all continue to do, for your courage and your bravery, for the providers, for delivering safe, quality care to women here in the nation's capital and across our region. Thank you to our mayor and our warrior on the Hill and all the women of the Council of the District of Columbia, because we should not find ourselves in this situation in a country as beautifully diverse as these United States of America. We should not find ourselves contracting the rights of our people. Not in 2022. This is the time where we should be expanding the rights of individuals. And there are fewer rights more fundamental, more important than the woman's right to choose, have control over their bodies. And as a father of 2 beautiful young girls, I am really disturbed by that preview that we've seen. But I tell you, we might not have statehood, but we have a warrior on the Hill that's going to keep fighting for us. We might not have statehood, but we have a mayor who's going to champion the rights of women and everybody across the nation's capital. We might not have statehood, but we have 7 women on this council who are going to show up, speak out, and be there when there's a fight to be had to protect women's right to choose. And I'm proud to serve with these women and to show up and fight with them. Thank you.
Last but certainly not least from the council, Janice Lewis George.
Thank you. As Councilmember Nadeau said, it's sad to be here because of these circumstances, but I'm happy that we are here together, united. Last night when I went down to the Supreme Court, we just heard chants from women of all ages, all colors, saying one thing: when our reproductive rights are under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back. And today we stand up together as the District of Columbia, council members, Madam Mayor, our warrior on the Hill, who has been on the Hill fighting, and we will win the fight for statehood, but we also will win this fight against our reproductive rights. When I stand here today, I think about the shoulders who I stand on, And I think about Faye Waddleton, who became the first black woman president of Planned Parenthood, I believe in 1979 or 78. And Faye Waddleton fought with other leaders like Shirley Chisholm and black women leaders in this city, including our delegate, Eleanor Holmes Norton. So generations before us has told us what we need to do in this moment. We need to stand united, and we need to fight back. And that is what we're going to do. We're going to fight for our reproductive rights. We're going to fight for safe, legal abortions. We're going to fight for our providers, the doctors, the nurses that do this work every single day. And we're going to continue our fight for statehood. And when the district fights, the district will win. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Next, we are going to be hearing from Planned Parenthood Metropolitan Washington, D.C.'s medical director, Dr. Serena Floyd.
I'm losing everything here. Thank you. Thank you, Laura. And good afternoon, everyone. As a physician, learning of the draft opinion of the Supreme Court and hearing its intent to strike Roe v. Wade was utterly gut-wrenching. It confirmed what many of us were anticipating and what we have been preparing for, but it was still tremendously hard to hear. And the reasons are many, but for me, as a physician and an abortion provider, the primary reason is because I know firsthand what this will mean for many patients just like the ones I take care of here in the DMV. Individuals who are relying on this care to have control over the direction their lives will take, to be able to live the futures they desire and that they deserve. A decision like this shows complete and total disregard for those society already pushes to the margins. Black, indigenous people, people of color, those who struggle financially, young people, and those living in rural communities. It tells my patients that their wishes, that their lives don't matter to the justices who believe the state should have the power to control an individual's autonomy and agency. And as disheartening as this news is, it is already the reality of so many in this country who, despite a legal right, have seen so many restrictions passed that Roe v. Wade and the protection it is supposed to provide them means nothing. Just ask the women and individuals of Texas. We here at Planned Parenthood are very fortunate in that steps have been taken, and we have those who are fighting very hard to protect the legal rights to abortion for individuals locally. And for this, we are very, very grateful. But I want to also raise up that even here, where the laws protect the right, if you are financially under-resourced, an abortion can be just as distant an option as it is for someone who's living in Texas. But this is why we do this work. This is why I do this work. It is for the patient I saw who flew from Texas using money that friends and family scraped together to travel all the way here to D.C. for an abortion she could not get in Texas, and after which she got right back on a plane that same day to fly home. It is for the patient I took care of who lives right here in Southeast, who is a single mother of 5 children whose Medicaid wouldn't pay for her abortion, so it was paid for by abortion funds supported through the generosity of donors. I do this work for my daughters, for whom I will always fight for the right to control their own bodies. I am here for this fight, along with so many others, alongside who I am so proud to do this battle. Thank you.
So, before we go to Q&A, I want to send out a call to action, and you are just the right people to deliver it. This is a pivotal moment in our history, and we do have the ability to affect the outcome. So, as Council Member Louis George said, we need to stand up. We need to stand up, speak out. I know this by heart. Stand up, speak out. And we need to encourage all of our friends, relatives, associates, etc., to do so. We are at a pivotal moment, and we can affect the outcome. We cannot give in to defeat. We cannot get into or give in to issue fatigue. And I know when I look at you, Congresswoman, who has been fighting this fight for decades, you are still here. You are still fighting the fight with as much energy as 40 years ago, because that's how important the fight is, as everyone has already said. The fight is about fundamental American values such as self-determination and liberty, the ability to live one's life as one chooses. And no government should interfere with that. And that's what we're seeing with this preview of the decision. So, with that said, I would like to open it up to questions. Okay. Please.
So, obviously, there's a number of states that you guys know of where immediately once Roe is overturned, they're going to criminalize abortion. The district is in a slightly different situation, but it still runs the risk that Congress would do it for us. Has Planned Parenthood prepared for that possibility in the district? I mean, are there any plans in place? Like, what's the direct impact on your operations now, knowing that potentially next year, could be a year after that, that sort of criminalization could come to home?
So I'll say this, as someone else said earlier, our doors are open. We are seeing patients. Abortion is legal in this country. It is certainly legal in the District of Columbia. We have been doing planning and contingencies for several years now to plan for what ultimately might happen. Any other questions? Seeing none, I want to thank our esteemed mayor, Congresswoman, and all of our council members. The only thing that gives me, or one of the things that gives me great hope, a sense of resiliency, is that you all have our backs. And what an impressive group. So thank you. And thank you all for being here today.